Welcome to Detroit. Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass. You can drown them. And that's what we gotta be. That's who we have to be. Because that's our domain. That is our domain. Because we'll tread water as long as it takes to fucking bury you.
Takes the snap, turns, gives to Montgomery, right side, end zone, touchdown, Detroit Lions! Yes.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello everybody, and welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host David T. Pike, and as always, we're diving on in. So to all my Lions, friends, fans, and family members, I'm going to tell you something. I've been on this earth now for going on almost 31 years. It'll have been 31 years when we hit the 5th of July next month. But point of the matter is in those near 31 years that I've been in, living existence, 25 of them I've been a Lions fan. A devout, die-hard, loyal Lions fan. And as such, I know that you can agree with me when I say this. I have heard and seen virtually every single ludicrous, absolutely erroneous, absolutely idiotic take or position that could possibly be made over the years. And you know what? I know some people would say, well, David, if you know that's the case, if you've seen all there is, wouldn't you think by now you've kind of gotten over it? Or wouldn't you think by now nothing surprises you and you can just move on past it? I would like to say that I've got the patience of a saint, or I have the stoicism of a philosopher, but quite frankly, I don't. And when I see some of these kinds of takes, like the one we're going to talk about today, I absolutely lose my cool. And the reason I lose my cool is because of the fact that for the majority of my life, I have always gone by facts. I am a factual person, I am a logical person, I am a reasonable person. The only time I bring emotion into it is when facts, logic, and reason absolutely fail to persuade or dissuade somebody from going on the current course that they're in. And I'm going to tell you this right now. To anybody who has watched my channel, watched my podcast over the last couple of years, you know that there are certain analysts I cannot stand. I can't tolerate them, because of just how absolutely laughable they are whenever they open their soup kitchen and trash just falls out of it. And by far, the one analyst that I have the most extreme prejudice against when it comes to his takes is none other than Chris Sims. This is a guy that, in my honest opinion, is the most pathetic excuse of a former player who decided to know, thank God, that he couldn't play football, and then, unfortunately, decided to take that and turn to becoming an analyst, who then used his father's name to provide validity to his absolutely ridiculously erroneous, just trash, putrid takes. This is a guy that quite literally has ridden the name of his father on that coattail so damn far that there's virtually no coattail left. This is a guy that quite literally got everything that he's gotten in life because of his father's name. I can't think of one single thing that Phil Simms has actually been able to manage to do for himself without actually having some help from his father's name actually getting him there. And the fact that this is a guy who quite literally has thousands upon thousands of people who listen to him just because of the fact that he's Phil Simms' son, it to me is just absolutely ridiculous, because his takes are absolutely putrid 95% of the time. And there's no worse take that this guy has than when it comes to his yearly quarterback countdown. This is a guy, and I say this with all sincerity, this is a guy that whenever his quarterback countdown comes out, I start getting nauseous. I start being like, okay, I already know we're going to see some really, really, really bad takes when it comes to this. And I usually just focus on what it means in relation to the Lions, which in this case means quarterback Jared Goff. But my God, I just look at what is going on with, this whole situation with his most recent list, and I'm just like, oh, good Lord, what is this guy seriously on? His quarterback countdown list, first and foremost, the categories that he has quarterbacks going in is absolutely just like, dude, did a fifth grader make this up or what? Some of the titles or concepts that he has as far as groupings are just absolutely laughable. They're so childish. But what makes it even worse is when you actually get into his quote-unquote top 10 countdown and you take a look at who he's got in that top 10. When you take a look at the top 10 countdown for supposedly the top 10 quarterbacks going into the 2025 season this year, this is who they are according to Chris Sims. Number 1, Lamar Jackson. Number 2, Josh Allen. 3, Burrow. 4, Mahomes. 5, Josh Daniels. 6, Matt Stafford. 7, C.J. Stroud. 8, Justin Herbert. Number 9, Baker Mayfield. And number 10, Jalen Hurts. Okay, I can already tell you right now there's a massive problem with that list, because if Goff is not in a top 10 list of any quarterback, then I don't care who the hell you are. You're wrong. You are absolutely 100% wrong. But what makes it even worse is that if you were to take a look at the quarterbacks that he had that were in those groupings that I'm talking about, those absolutely ridiculous childish groupings that he came up with, the one group that's just behind the top 10 quarterback, or the top 10 quarterback countdown that he has, that's the one that Goff is in. But he's at the bottom of that one. He's got Purdy and Rodgers in front of Goff. So if you were to realistically think about it, Chris Sims, based upon his own rankings, has Jared Goff as the 13th best quarterback going into the 2025 season. 13. So pretty much what by Chris Sims' own admission is that Jared Goff is just above average. Because again, there are 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL. That means 16 is the halfway point. So 13 is just above average. Okay. So there are two problems I have with this list. Number one, the fact that Jared Goff is so disrespectfully put where he is. But also, 2, how this top 10 quarterback nonsense is broken down, it literally makes no damn sense. And I'm going to show you why it literally makes no sense. Because let's understand something here. This is by far the most egregiously inaccurate and erroneous list I have ever seen Chris Sims make. And again, while primarily my bone to pick with this list is the fact of where Goff is in relation to the other quarterbacks on it, my other issue is that the list itself, it has guys ranked where they're at, but there's like no damn logical sense or reason as to why they're where they're at. Let's take a look at the first 3 guys in the list. You have Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and you have Joe Burrow. First and foremost here, I decided to just think about this. Okay, yeah, they're definitely really great quarterbacks. There's no doubt on that one. I mean, I like some of them, but they're great quarterbacks. They definitely are one of a kind in what they can do. But I was like, okay, is it because of the postseason? Is it because of their success in winning big-time games? Well, if you take a look at those first 3 quarterbacks, have 1 Super Bowl appearance between the 3 of them, and they have a 1-4 record in the championship game. Not exactly very what's the word I'd use? Not exactly very inspiring when it comes to the fact of, okay, these are supposedly the 3 best quarterbacks in the NFL, and yet none of them has a Super Bowl win, and only one of them has been to a Super Bowl, and they have a combined record between the 3 of them of 1-4. So obviously postseason record or production isn't exactly the highest priority, because the top 3 quarterbacks, at least when we're talking about the top 2 games in terms of postseason, which is the championship game and then the Super Bowl, it's inconsistent at best. At best. And that's a really wild stretch at best. Because let's think about it here. Yeah, while, Allen and while Lamar have been consistently going to the playoffs every single year, Let's see here. Lamar is typically a one and done in the playoffs. And then when we talk about Burrow hasn't even been to the postseason in 2 years. So, okay then, if it's not about the postseason success, because let's think about this. Jalen Hurts, who won the damn Super Bowl this year, was ranked number 10. So it can't be about postseason success. It can't be. So then it has to be about something else. That then to me means, okay, he's got to be basing this off of talent, which is a perspective, subjective kind of thing, which you really can't measure, and it also has to be on stats. Well, again, the issue here with me is that, okay, if you can't really measure something that is subjective or opinionated as far as how talented a quote-unquote quarterback is, then you have to go based off of the stats. Well, if it's based off of stats, then how in the hell Jared Goff is not in the top 5 is absolutely, it's unfathomable. Because think about this. You have guys like Stroud, Herbert, Baker, Purdy, and Rodgers who are in front of Goff, and yet none of them came particularly close except for maybe Baker in realistically outperforming him in the regular season. And again, if we just go back to the Pro Bowl as well, I mean, Jared Goff was the best quarterback in the Pro Bowl last year. So again, if the postseason is not a particularly heavy instance of quote-unquote weighing a quarterback's worth, and you want to base it off of stats and talent, well, let's see here. In the Pro Bowl, in the talent performance, Jared Goff outdid everybody. He was the MVP of the Pro Bowl. And in the regular season, oh, that's right, Jared Goff was one of the finalists for the MVP. And as I just clearly demonstrated, statistically, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the league last year. Jared Goff in 2024, I've said it before, I'll say it again, but the point here is even more prevalent. In 2024, Jared Goff was ranked second in completion percentage, second in passing yards, second in pass average per throw, ranked fourth in passing touchdowns, third in pass touchdown percentage per throw, second in passer rating, and sixth in QBR. I'm going to tell you this right now. If you take a look at all those quarterbacks that are in front of Jared Goff, all other 12 quarterbacks that are in front of Jared Goff on Chris Sims' supposed whatever list you want to call it, the only quarterback that was actually able to totally outperform Jared Goff, if you want to talk about in terms of the passing numbers, in terms of passing touchdowns, in terms of passer rating, QBR, pass completion percentage, the whole 9 yards, realistically, the only 2 quarterbacks that did that was Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow. That's pretty much it. Which is why, again, as I've stated before, Jared Goff last year was a top 3 quarterback because, that means that there's at least 2 guys that are in front of him. Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow. Then, if you go even more specific into it, Jared Goff, in terms of his play action statistics last year, he was ranked second in completion percentage off of play action, number 1 in yards off of play action throwing, number 2 in terms of pass average per throw off of play action, number 2 in passing touchdowns off of play action, and number 3 in passer rating off of play action. So, okay, except for the passer rating, Jared Goff is quite literally number 2. You're talking about a guy that's top 2 in what he does in terms of play action. And again, the only quarterback in terms of play action statistics that was actually better than Goff last year was Lamar Jackson. Okay, so let's think about this here. Between regular statistics and play action statistics, the only quarterbacks that outdid Goff were Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow. That is it. That is a really short damn list. And then if you want to go even further with it, what's another thing quarterbacks are measured on? They're measured on their ability to win. Well, wait a minute here. Since the postseason doesn't apparently matter as much to, supposedly Chris Sims, because like I said, the top 3 quarterbacks that he has in his list, which is Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow. Burrow didn't even go to the playoffs last year. Lamar Jackson was a quick one and done in the postseason. And Josh Allen, he got the furthest. But again, Josh Allen has not won a freaking conference championship game. He has not even been to a Super Bowl. So again, the basis of his supposed reasoning and logic, that one doesn't fit. So then, okay, let's talk about regular season. The only quarterback in 2024 that had the same amount of wins as Jared Goff, because nobody had more wins than Goff, they only matched him, was Patrick Mahomes. Which, oh, wait a minute here. Patrick Mahomes is quarterback number 4 on his list. So think about this here. Lamar Jackson, number 1. Joe Burrow, number 3. Patrick Mahomes, number 4. So if you want to go based off of the logical reasoning as to why his list is the way it is, there is no way in damn hell, by either statistical reasoning, by logical reasoning, or any other reasoning, that Jared Goff should be anything lower than number 5. He was a top 3 quarterback last year in terms of overall production. He was a top 2 quarterback in terms of play action production. And this is a guy that literally was tied for first in terms of overall wins. But yet, despite Goff's statistical prowess and domination over virtually everybody else in the league, again, pretty much the only 2 quarterbacks that didn't pretty much outdo him was Lamar and Burrow, Goff is ranked 13th. 13th. And this is behind several guys who, in comparison to Goff, had absolutely pitiful seasons. I mean, you're talking like pitiful. Goff absolutely had one of the best quarterback seasons that the NFL has ever seen. I'm not saying it's, like up there with like Peyton Manning's 2013 or, Tom Brady's 2007, but it's up there. It is up there. Now, here's the part about this that really gets me kind of going, is that if you go further into this, let's think about this. There are guys that are in front of Jared Goff that didn't make the playoffs last year, such as Brock Purdy, such as Aaron Rodgers, and as I stated, Joe Burrow. All of them did not make the playoffs last year. Then you start thinking about guys that did make the playoffs but were 1-game exits. That's Justin Herbert, that's Lamar Jackson, and that's Jared Goff himself. But again, think about this. All 5 of the other guys that I just mentioned before Goff, they're all ranked higher than him. All of them. And 3 out of the 5 guys are in the top 10. 2 of them are in the top 3. So, wait a minute here. That makes no sense by my logical reasoning, because it's like, if Goff is in the same boat as some of these other guys, or has done better than some of these other guys, but yet he's the lowest ranked out of all of them, how in the hell does that make any sense? Because here's the one guy on this list that literally just makes no sense to me. Justin Herbert. I'm not saying Justin Herbert's a bad quarterback. Justin Herbert is a pretty damn good quarterback, considering the fact that, he's been with a team which primarily relies on him to get things done. But here's the part about this that makes no sense. If you want to talk about a quarterback that had virtually a kind of carbon copy mimic to what Jared Goff was, it would have been Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert had a really damn good year with the Chargers, got the Chargers to the playoffs, then had an absolutely bad, absolutely terrible playoff performance. But yet, wait a minute here, Justin Herbert's ranked 8th, whereas Goff is ranked 13th. Explain that to me. Because let me just put this out there once again. When you compare Goff's 2024 stats to Herbert's 2024 stats, and again, Herbert being ranked 8th, this is what you're going to notice. Again, I'm just going to put the stats for Goff right back up on the screen again. 2nd in pass completion percentage, yards, average per throw, ranked 4th in touchdowns, ranked 3rd in passing touchdown percentage, ranked 2nd in passer rating, and ranked 6th in QBR. But when you take a look at those numbers and then you compare them to Justin Herbert, the guy who is, ranked 8th, so 5 spots ahead of Goff on supposedly Sim's list, Justin Herbert last year was tied for 16th in completion percentage, ranked 9th in passing yards, 8th in pass average per throw, 12th in passing touchdowns, 15th in pass touchdown percentage per throw, ranked 7th in passer rating, and ranked 11th in QBR. I'm just going to put this out there abundantly clear. If you're going to try and match up the statistics, here's what you're going to see. There's only 2 categories where Justin Herbert outdoes Jared Goff, and that's in interceptions and interception percentage per throw. That is it. Everything else, Jared Goff absolutely 100% completely wallops Herbert. Absolutely mops the floor with him. It's not even a contest. It's not even, it might as well be Goliath going up against a child. And I'm not talking about David the child. I'm talking like a baby. That's how damn just unwoefully imbalanced this is. Jared Goff absolutely just completely destroys Justin Herbert when it comes to statistical comparison. And yes, again, as I said earlier, both Herbert and Goff got to the playoffs, but both Herbert and Goff had poor playoff performances. But yet, again, if you take the comparative analysis and you take a look at how Goff did versus how Herbert did, Goff still played better than Herbert in their playoff game. Still played better. And, oh, by the way, that was also while Goff was likely concussed and also had virtually no defense because, oh, that's right, most of our defensive starters were injured in that game. Oh, sure, we had a few, but again, remember, we had no Hutch, we had no McNeil, we had no Barnes, we had no Rodrigo. We were missing a lot of defensive starters in that game. We were playing with partially one arm tied behind our back. So, okay here, Jared Goff was extremely more productive than Herbert in 2024, had a better playoff performance than Herbert in 2024. So, again, based upon my logical mindset here, if Goff was better than Herbert in virtually every single way, statistics, playoff performance, every single way, then by the own reckoning of Sim's list, Goff should at least be 8th, not 13th. At least 8th. But again, that's not the way the list breaks down. Now, I know some are going to try to say, well, David, you can't just say that it's not about talent. Okay, I understand it's about talent. But let me ask you this question. How do you objectively measure talent? Like, seriously, how do you objectively measure it? Do you objectively measure it by saying, oh, you know what, this guy can throw a ball further, or this guy can do this, that, or the other thing? How can you objectively measure it? The point of the matter is, you can't really objectively measure talent. The only way you can, or at least I would say subjectively measure it, is based upon the statistical production that quarterbacks are able to do. Because talent is not something you can measure. It's not like I can say, okay, you give me your talent jar and we're going to pour it into this machine and it's going to tell me how talented you are. That's not how it works. Plus, on top of that, let's consider the fact that these quarterbacks are literally within the 1% of the top 1% of players that are in the world. So again, talent kind of becomes a really finicky thing to try and measure. The only way you can measure or compare quarterbacks when you're talking about it like this is objectively, which is numbers, production, wins, losses, things of that nature. Anything else is disingenuous. Anything else is leading you astray. It's lying to yourself, more importantly, and it's based totally on opinion. The correct ranking for quarterbacks, if you realistically want to think about it, has to be based upon what they have done in the past, not based upon what you think they're going to do in the future, because, oh, that's right, last time I checked, nobody can predict the future, and the only one who knows what the future is, last I checked, he's not whispering in Chris Sims' ear. So if you were to base the rankings off of last year, just in my honest opinion, last year, you have to go based upon this. Number one, how did they actually perform in the regular season? How did they produce? What were their numbers? How many wins did they get in the regular season? How far did they get in the postseason? These are things you have to measure, and each one of them has to be measured with equal amount of weight. You can't just say, oh, because of this is going to give more weight than that, because then at that point, then your whole measuring analysis becomes very screwy and wonky. So if I'm ranking a top 10 list of quarterbacks based off of last year and what they did last year going into 2025, this is what my list would be. I would at least agree with Chris Sims that the top 3 should remain the same. Lamar, Allen, and Burrow. I would still keep them in that 3 because to me it's like, okay, Lamar had a great season last year. Lamar was able to get into the postseason, albeit it was a one and done, but Lamar had at least a decent game in the postseason. It wasn't like he completely floundered like he normally does, but still, not exactly the greatest. But Lamar had an absolutely just historic regular season. Number 2, Allen. Allen was the MVP last year. Allen had a great season last year. He got to the championship game last year. Okay, definitely deserves that spot. But was he as good as Lamar in the regular season? No, he wasn't. Burrow. Burrow had probably the best season out of any quarterback last year statistically. But unfortunately, because of his team, they weren't going to go to the postseason. So it's like, hey, I would like to put him higher, but I can't. Number 4 for me would be Goff, because it's like, okay, the second best quarterback statistically last year, at least in terms of passing yards, pass completion percentage, pass average per throw, and all that other happy jazz, including passer rating, that was Jared Goff. So it's like, okay, you're talking about a guy who was a top 5, top 3 statistical quarterback last year, was the second best play action passer last year, still got into the playoffs, had the number 1 seed, but yes, he had a bad playoff game. So it's like, okay, I can't really put Goff higher than 4. Now, some people will be like, well, wait a minute here. What about Mahomes? Here's the reason I have Mahomes at number 5. Mahomes last year, I'll give him a lot of credit for being a leader, but he had a lot of freaking lucky games. Like, there were a lot of games where the refs freaking bailed him out. And then the Super Bowl was absolutely horrendous. For a guy who has been to the Super Bowl as many times as Mahomes was, when he goes up against the Eagles, he looked like literally a paper doll. Absolutely looked like a paper doll. Number 6, I would put Matthew Stafford. Again, I'm not as big on Stafford as I used to be, but Stafford is still a great quarterback. He is still a great producer, and I have no reason to believe that that's not going to happen again in 2025. Number 7, I would probably put at, I'll be honest, it's kind of going to, I would say it's probably going to, how do I put this? It's probably going to upset some people, but I'm still going to go with it. I'm probably going to put Baker Mayfield. This is a guy that's had very much a similar career arc to what Jared Goff has had. Was brought in to be the savior for a team, did very well at first, and then all of a sudden he was what's the word? He was just kind of thrown away because they didn't want him anymore, and now he's found himself a home with a new team, and he's completely turned around his career, just like Goff. At number 8, I would then probably put Jalen Hurts. The reason I have Jalen Hurts so low, even though he won the Super Bowl, is because, again, yes, he won the Super Bowl. Yes, he did well in the postseason. But this is a guy that in the regular season, compared to other quarterbacks, he doesn't come anywhere close. Again, most of how the Eagles got to the Super Bowl last year was not Jalen Hurts. It was Saquon Barkley. And also a great defense. Then, that would then bring me to number 9, which for me, I would put CJ Stroud. And then again, I would put at number 10, Justin Herbert. That's how I would do my top 10. Now, I know some of you are like, where the hell is Jaden Daniels on this list? I'm going to tell you where Jaden Daniels is on this list. He's not in the top 10. The reason why he's not in the top 10 is because I am not going to give somebody who literally had a wonderful rookie year a top 10 billing. It's like, listen, you had one great season. I need to see more. This is a guy that came in as a rookie, performed extremely, absolutely exceedingly well. But if I'm going to try and put you in the top 10, you have to have more than just one season's worth of production. You have to be able to say, oh, I've been doing this now for a while. At least every guy that I have on my list has been doing it for a while in one facet or another. Jaden Daniels only got one season. I need to see more. That would be my top 10 list. And you know what? I already know I'm going to catch some flack for it. But at least mine is based off of logistical reasoning. Mine is based off of, hey, you know what? This is how I made my list. This is what made my list and how it goes into it. It's not based off of, oh, well, this, that, or the other thing, and all this stuff thrown in together like some, ridiculous concoction of a drink or a cake and then said, hey, you know what? This is what it is. Mine literally has a consistent, reasonable basis about how and why things are ranked the way they are. You may not like it, but at least you can understand it. But anyway, folks, that's my episode. And again, like I said, this is just once again an absolutely pitiful excuse of a list that I just consider hate from, Chris Sims towards the Lions and especially towards Jared Goff. But anyway, I'm going to end this episode. So having said that, I'm going to say thank you all for watching in another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, highly encourage y'all to watch the next episode. Also encourage y'all to do one of these 3 things. Like, comment, and subscribe. If by chance you subscribed in the past and forgot to do so at the time, I want to highly encourage y'all, please make sure you hit that bell notification icon. Also want to encourage y'all to share the content with your Lions friends and family members. Share it here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook. And with that, I hope you all enjoyed the content. Hopefully I was able to give you guys something a little bit more into why I think the way I think, especially about this. Maybe I was able to give you guys something to talk about as far as my quote-unquote top 10 quarterback list. I know it's going to definitely cause some controversy, but again, I try to do what I think is best with these content episodes. I try to give you the best I can. I also hope you all have something in your life that makes you happy, makes you smile. God bless, my friends. And until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.